Another episode today. Today we are joined by the notorious Nathan Daniel. How are you doing today?
What's up, man? I'm doing really good. Doing really good. I appreciate you having me on today.
Excellent. Love having you here, and it's an honor to have you on. For people coming in for the first time, learning about you, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh my gosh, I know I don't want to keep people here for hours and stuff, so I'll just do the Cliffs Notes version. Been in been in real estate, the real estate industry since I can remember. I was the weird kid at Christmas time getting architecture books and stuff. So did a little quick stint at college with architecture, but I just love the real estate space. I always knew it was going to be a vehicle for me. So I've been there like actively selling and stuff as an agent back since 2009. And since then, I've kind of done everything. I had a team, built a brokerage. I've had two software companies in the tech space, published a couple books, podcasts, you name it. I love this industry and it provides so many opportunities. So, married, have an awesome, beautiful wife of almost 20 years. And our son, he's about 7 right now at the time of this recording. And we live in the great state of Oklahoma. So right smack dab in the middle of the United States. So there's a
Love
Cliff
it.
Notes
Love
version.
it. Seven is a fun age. It's where really it was around 6 with my oldest daughter, where it started becoming a lot easier. Like life became easier. There are harder things, but like life overall, they can get themselves ready, cook their own food, do whatever. Like starting to be sustainable. It's a pivotal moment for me.
I'm really enjoying it. I was told, when we were getting to that age, people were like, man, this is the best time. Like, especially with boys from 6, 7 years old till about 12 years old. They're like, that's the really good time. So we're enjoying it. He's really into baseball, basketball, soccer. He actually asked us to play hockey the other day. And I'm like, cool, whatever you want to do, man, let's try it all.
Love it. Love it. Well, let's jump into some of your experience in the business world and in the entrepreneurship world. It sounds like you've been at it for a while. 2009, an amazing time to start.
Dude, yes, absolutely it was.
Yeah.
I was coming off a corporate job and I had, I was 23, 24 years old at the time and, watching some of my friends and stuff graduate from college and all this kind of stuff, which, at the time they were in debt, just getting started in the job. I was actually a part of running a company. We had over 50 employees. We were doing almost 13, $14 million a year. Like it was just a lot, right? I had company car, all this stuff. And I saw the trend of that business and that industry going down. I was like, I got to get out. So went back to my roots in real estate and I saw opportunity. I'm pretty much an opportunist and I saw people bailing out of the industry. And I was like, man, if I can do it now, I can do it when the market shifts because it always shifts. So I jumped in and didn't burn bridges or anything, but I definitely burned the boats and didn't look back. So no safety net or anything, and just with the support of my wife. And she's like, all right, go do it.
Awesome.
So,
I love it. Now, it sounds like you had the support of your wife, but I mean, that was an awesome time to be joining. So when you're like, hey, we're going to do this, we're going to go, like, tell me about that first deal or that first experience. Like, how was that? Because, a lot of entrepreneurs don't get that some of the best times to jump in is when you're seeing these dips.
I started my first business when I was 14 years old. And I had some of them that were traditional and all this kind of stuff. But when I got into real estate, especially then, I had some hard lessons, like so many people do in real estate. And, I had to learn that I don't actually sell houses. Like, I was selling myself. And so became more marketing and branding. And the market that I was in, we were in Dallas at the time and I had very little influence, right? Because my job, I traveled all around the country and my local influence was like 30 people. So for about my first 6 months, really banged my head up against a wall. And I guess I'm hard-headed enough to figure it out. And had a couple mentors and people helped me kind of along the way and kind of nudge me and guide me, but really never took me under their wing. And so, yeah, like getting a couple deals under my belt, like right off the bat, like most agents, we can toss a rock out there, get 2-3 transactions. but when I started really getting momentum, that's when it really started getting fun. So it was tough. It was tough in the beginning, but man, my first year, once I kind of found my groove, and for me, it was going out and networking and just getting to know local people, having and seeing how I could help. But once I did that, I actually ended up making more money my first year in real estate than I did at my corporate job. So that was fantastic. So
Yes, love, love, love hearing that. Now, over the years, you've been known as a real techie type of a person
yeah.
and leveraging, tech type stuff to do your job better. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, just naturally, I pick up on stuff. I think it comes from the gaming when I was a kid, start with Nintendo, Atari, and all that kind of stuff, and just really loving that space. But I kind of always took it through, whether it's starting my first business, but really in real estate, I started looking at, how could I stand out? How can I be different? I was actually at a networking event, and this was the first time I went, okay, here we go. Because most time we go to networking events or chambers or whatever it is. And most of the time in the room, in real estate, especially, there's a lot of other real estate agents that are there.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, I've got to embrace myself. I went to a couple of meetings and I tried the traditional thing. I'm in real estate. Come see me for your buyer seller needs, all that stuff. And how many people came up and saw me? 0. And so I was like, all right, forget it. I'm just going to be myself. And so I went in and I had fun. My background was in technology. I was in the tech space before at my corporate job. And so I had a lot of experience there. And so I went in, I wore this absolutely horrendous tie. I mean, it was ugly. And I get up in front of the room and I'm like, you know what, took the sport coat off. I dropped the whole glamour shots approach of real estate agents. Mm-hmm. And I got up there. I was like, man, my name's Nathan. I'm the techie tie guy. And if you're wanting somebody who's cutting edge, who understands technology and knows that the new curb appeal is actually online, then come see me. I'd love to get your home on the market, get it sold, all that stuff. No joke. It was my third meeting and somebody came up and was like, yeah, I'd love to have you come over. Ended up selling 3 transactions within 4 months. And
beautiful.
I asked him at the end, I was like, why on earth did you pick me? Like, of everybody, there were agents in that room that have been in the business for 20 years. And I'm going, why me? He's like, dude, you were fun. You were our people and you spoke our language. I was like, life lesson right there, folks. So that's kind of where I just approached the having fun mentality and being myself and embracing who I really was and not living to the glamour shots models of old. So,
yeah. Now let's jump a little bit forward. We've been talking about the past. Let's talk about the present. What is going on in the market right now? There's a lot of negativity out there, but I think a lot of just people have no clue what is going on. As somebody who's navigated like ups and downs of real estate, it's not like this is your first rodeo. Tell us what's going on.
I think there is a lot of fear, and it's coming from it's coming from interesting places. A lot of the conversations that I have right now, whether it's agents in the community that I run or in the coaching that I do, it's new agents, but the new agents aren't as freaked out actually as older agents in the industry. And because the new agents, I don't think have any idea, right? Especially if they've been in for, let's say, since COVID, right? Since the 20 era to now, like the last 4 years, they don't know any different. Yet those of us that have been in for a longer period of time and not used to this idea of asking, especially on the buyer side right now, like with the buyer side of the buyer agree or agency agreement and all that kind of stuff that came out with the settlement, that has a lot of people freaking out because they're not used to asking for business. They're not used to showing their value. They're not used to the transparency and saying, hey, work with me, and then taking a stand for themselves. So I've been talking with agents that have been in the business for 20, 30 years that are now questioning, do I want to continue this? So there's a lot of fear there, but my encouragement to everybody is like, look, nothing has changed. Nothing has changed. These forms have always been there, but it just requires us to disclose. And I actually think disclosure is a good thing, right? And so just embrace that. And so I think that's where the state of a lot of people are. My encouragement, just keep going. Our industry is known for change. Like this world is change, and you've got to embrace that change in order to really thrive in it. And if you don't want to embrace change and you want to keep coasting, then you're already making a decision to bail out. So,
yeah. Love it. It's that mindset that you have to have.
Hmm.
I feel the last couple of years it's been easy, and maybe not the last year and a half, but prior to that, during the COVID area, there was a crazy time where you could throw a rock and sell a house,
Yeah.
and people forgot the basics.
Hmm. Well, they forgot the
So
basics. And I think at the end of the day, they forgot to show how they provide value, right? Because it became
yes,
so easy. They don't, I think the conversation of like, what is my value? Well, our value, every person is different. Every business is different, right? Like the
yeah,
value that we provide is unique. Just like me standing up in front of that room where somebody needed a suit and tie and like dress to the nines, that worked for somebody. But for me, it was like drop the suit, put on a t-shirt or put on a tie, call yourself they ended up calling me the tacky tie guy eventually. But like I rolled with it, right? Because they were thinking about me. But at the end of the day, it was embrace who you are and the right people will show up and they'll be okay
yeah,
and you'll be fine.
yeah. Well, that tacky tie guy led to over $1 billion in
Yeah.
production over 5 years. Tell
Yeah.
us about that journey. That's
Yeah.
one, an impressive number. But
So,
what are some of the key strategies that drove that growth?
you know, one, it was team development stuff, right? I stepped in, started running a brokerage, and grew it to right at that $1 billion mark. And that was in a year, right? The $1 billion was in a single year. Over
Crazy.
the course of being in that particular company, I think, it was upwards of 3-4 million or $4 billion in production. And it was just helping people, right? Realize that, look, there's more to this business than just transactions. And the more you can lean into building relationships and really making an impact in our community, but finding your community within the community, like when people really started understanding that, and when we laid it out for them and gave them their unique plan and helped them discover that, and just get out of the traditional mold of spamming people with what they think
Yeah.
value is. I think that's when we really started taking off and really started to thrive.
Yeah. Now, walk me through your process of generating leads.
Sure.
You generate a lot of leads. These are quality. They're leading to not just like signatures, getting people, but actual like sales. Walk me
Yeah.
through that process.
So it's a little different, right? In the beginning, I was very much a churn and burn agent. I was really good at technology. So like hopping on social media was very natural for me. Like when Facebook rolled out their video feature, I mean, I was literally like one of the first ones in Dallas at the time going, "Hey, what's up? I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm here at this house right now," and
Yep.
doing that. So I was willing to embrace that. But for
I've seen the
me,
videos. They are very professional.
yeah. Oh, thank you. I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It didn't start that way, FYI. So encouragement to anybody.
I'm joking. It didn't matter. It didn't
It
matter.
didn't
You
matter.
just like,
Yeah.
the camera's going
Yeah.
like this. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
horrible. It was so bad. But hey, it worked, right?
Yeah.
But for today, I think it's really connecting with people. I think that's really what it boils down to. We've got to learn how to actually provide that value that I talked about a minute ago. And for every person, it's a little bit different. So now, I go back to this theory of relationships, right? I teach a lot about relationships and ultimately communication. Don't spam. Don't be that, because the more you create that content out there right now that is, how do I say this? A set it and forget it posting strategy that so many
Yep.
agents lean into, you become noise. And to stand out, to generate leads that are on autopilot for you, I'm teaching right now a lot of people like the new standard of business. It's no longer six figures and the magic number of 100,000. Yeah, that's important to a lot of people, but 100,000 in today's market is not what it used to be. And so I think the new standard of what is six figures, it's 250 plus. And so what does that equate to in value and stuff? And I show people how by actually narrowing down your focus to the right number of people and building your community, their community, serving the community beyond just that first number is actually how you generate leads for life. And it's not advertising. It's not spending in like cold calling for hours and stuff at a day. It's really taking time to know people.
Yeah.
And, there was a guy here in Oklahoma City, and he just did such a great job. And he was in the insurance space, and he ended up passing away from a car accident, and it was real tragic. Like 34 years old, it was a bad deal. But his whole philosophy is, I want to know you. I want to know your kids. I want to know your business. I want to know all this stuff. And that's the approach I think everybody has to take. But his impact that he wanted was a lot deeper than just surface level. I was a surface level agent at the very beginning. My biggest month, I generated 1,000 leads organically. Awesome.
Boom.
The problem is I was exhausted. I was burnt out. I had no systems, anything else. And when I realized that I could do a lot better and I could go deeper in my relationships, the number of leads I can create organically could skyrocket if I just had the right conversations with the right people. Yeah. So that's a little bit about my strategy, man. It's not about, do we run ads? Do we do all that kind of stuff? Yes, that's the supplement stuff. But at the core, it's about people. It's about people.
Yeah. Yeah, it really is. I haven't talked too much about my background. I actually did a lot in the real estate space as well. Do you remember the company called OBO?
Mm-hmm.
We did spinning home tours. I was OBO. I was one of those guys.
Okay.
So, kind of a fun product. We sold to real estate agent. You guys, just for you guys listening or watching, we did the spinning home tours, and it was like circa like 2006 when we started this company, and we spun a camera around and did that. And I remember they put me in a room. There were 4 of us or 5 of us in the company. They put me in literally the janitor's closet, and they poked a hole through because I was so loud on the phone when I talked. They drilled a hole through, put 2 cables through so I could get internet, and they're like, go sell. And they're like, go sell or we're out of business. And I would just call agents and I get some sales, and I did. But I found out no matter how many people I called, I could only get like 10 to 12 sales a day.
Mm-hmm.
And they were paying me like anywhere from like $8 to $12 per sale. And I was like, I was living the dream. I was going to college. I was blinging it, right? They're paying me hourly plus this. But then I developed a few strategies where at the time, Craigslist was popular. Facebook was starting to get momentum. And I started going online and I started saying, hey, anybody who can get me agent leads, I'll pay you $5. I'll pay you $6. And I started getting like these like affiliates, is what we called it. Back at the time, I just called them my boys. But they started selling the product for me. And why I bring this up is there's no right or wrong way to get leads or to sell or to do things. But what I loved about what you said is I jumped on the Facebook thing. I jumped on this. I jumped on that. It was new things that are happening. And I think there's a lot of new things that are happening online, like this new AI craze, this new that. There are a lot of things where you can jump on that can mean a difference. Now, it doesn't mean they're going to work. I found 20 different things that did not work for one thing that worked. By the way, it was funny because I was the top sales rep there, and my average day for one of my top months was 536 sales a day. The next highest sales rep was 8. And my boss was like, what are you doing? These are a lie. And then they were like, you're not doing this. And then they stopped, and like then they freaked out because all these sales stopped and caused a huge commotion. At the end of the day, they were like, holy cow, we can't lose you. And backstory on that, I ended up taking that whole process and I flipped it over to homeowners, and I started doing for sale by owners. And I said, hey, I can sell your home in 30 days. And if I can't, I'm going to put you with the best real estate agent in the thing. I listed homes on MLS. I did this. And then I ended up, on average, I was selling about 2,200 plus leads a month to a large brokerage firm, Coldwell Banker. And they ended up purchasing the company for an astronomical 8 figures. And that was kind of my entry into this crazy weird market and way of doing things online. But I think what you're bringing up is like, you talk about like all these new things, but one thing I've noticed when looking at your site, when looking at you, is authenticity.
100%.
And how you have to be authentic. And when I was doing this, I was 100% myself, and every person was 100% yourself. I'd love to hear you talk a little bit about the importance of authenticity in everything that you do. So
Wow.
there's a lot of crap out there.
There is, right? Like there is so much noise out there and everything is vying for our attention, right? Social media, streaming services, like you name it, everything wants our attention. And we can't do everything, right? And I think for me, especially when we talk about business and we talk about real estate, like finding your community, finding your people, that authentic you. I'll tell you this. Okay. So one of the things I ended up doing is to have fun, right? I love going to baseball games. We love going to
Yeah.
hockey games, like all this stuff, right? Well, we'd go on the weekends, all that kind of stuff, because it's when my wife was off work. Well, we'd go to the games, and instead of me being at an open house, I probably did 5 open houses in my entire career when I was actively selling. And
Good.
I went to games literally instead of with foam fingers and all that stuff. I literally went with like open house from 2 to 4, right? So I'm carrying this weird sign, and it was just a conversation starter. And people were like, open house, like what? It was a conversation starter, and it was just something for me to be.
And your wife is like, can't we just enjoy a baseball game?
Or she's like,
and you're like, hey, do you really like the nice car that you have?
Yeah, you do. Yeah. Or she's like, just go with your friends. It's okay.
Yeah. That'd be more my wife right there.
Look, at one point in my life, after running the brokerage for a period of time and realizing I was starting to walk somebody else's path and I was getting into that unauthentic zone, and it wasn't because of them. I'd allowed myself to fall into their mold, and it wasn't meeting me, right? It wasn't meeting my authentic self. So I got really, really burnt out. And if you try to fake it till you make it, that whole mentality, it doesn't work. You can do it for a short period of time, but it shows, right? Especially today, it shows. And I think the more you lean into, who you are at that time and the gifts that you've been given, the skills that you've gained along the way, the experiences of your life, they've crafted you to who you are today. And I think that makes the biggest impact. And so if you choose to fake it till you make it, you choose that alternative ego, and you're not going to make the impact that you possibly can. And that's a big keynote that I give, like to not just real estate, just to business in general, is this be the pebble, like about the ripple effects that we can create throughout our world if we just show up and be ourselves. And my other brand is Be You and Be Real. And it's about living authentically and sharing yourself and being unapologetically you. But here's the caveat to that. If you're going to live that way, you also have to give permission to other people to live that way. But it's not in a state of judgment. It's in a state of curiosity. I talk about this and I go, look, you've got a book that's on a shelf. Take time to look at the cover, and maybe the cover is not for you. But for some people, it's going to turn the cover over. You're going to read the back and be like, okay, yeah, I'm going to go deeper. I'm going to go to the first chapter, second chapter. And that's what I mean. Just live in a state of curiosity and don't judge other people based on that. And when you do that, it's amazing how your mind just opens up to the possibilities around you and really, really allowing yourself to be you.
Yeah. Tell us about your coaching business. How's that impacted your life in the last couple of years?
Oh man. So we've done a lot. I partnered with a dear friend of mine and helped him grow his coaching company internationally. So I was his director of growth and partnership. So like leading coaches and training coaches, how to train brokers and agents all across the country. Like the fulfillment with that is just like, that's what makes my heart sing. I think I had a really kind of those life smack you across the forehead moments. I was at church one day and man, it just hit me right over the forehead. And, I just felt like I was called to go out and impact the lives of thousands of people. But I just had to step out and do it. And if I hadn't taken that step, right, if I hadn't made that choice to go, you know what, I'm going to be more about significance than I am the definition of success right now, I would have been stuck back then. And yet the fulfillment and seeing lives changed, it's what Zig Ziglar always used to say, the more people you help, the more successful you become, the more you get what you want. And for me, that's really what it is. Like my heart is full. Is it hard? Heck yeah, it's hard, right? It's business.
Life is hard.
Life is hard, right? And especially when you care about people. Like I deeply, deeply care about people, especially the ones that are in my inner circle and the people that I work with. Like I'm invested. Like I've got people out in the Carolinas right now, like that are just getting over that, like, and still in the mix of that stuff. I've got people in Florida right now that are getting hammered at this time, like this week with another one. I'm like, my heart is going out to them. I'm like, man, what can I do? But I think for me, it's success, it's significance, but more it's about the impact and the change of positivity that I've seen in people. That's really what my coaching is all about.
Love it. Now, you have an upcoming real estate agent challenge. Tell us a tiny bit about that. Give us, I know I wasn't supposed to bring it up, but I want to hear just a little bit about it. I got to hear a little bit about it.
And so after coaching brokers and leaders in the industry for such a long time, and with all the recent changes that have happened, I was like, you know what? I need to get back in the roots and back in the trenches and really, really, help some people and like understand what's going on across the country. So I started talking with agents one-on-one and kind of going through some coaching stuff. And I was like, you know what, we need to run a challenge. And so I actually put this group together. It's a free group that people can come join. And I'm going to do a live challenge, and it may have already passed by the time you get to this, but it's all about generating $10 million a year over year in volume without running ads, without doing all this other crazy stuff, but really finding your unique path in real estate, because there's 101 different ways to run this business. And that's where a lot of people get stuck. So in this 5-day challenge, it's all about that. It's finding your path, understanding the impact that you can make, how to find your authentic journey and really hit your goals and crush it. And so in a 5-day period, my promise is you're going to make progress. It's a journey, right? Real estate, it's a journey, and it's not going to happen overnight, but anybody that wants to come join, I'm probably sneak peek, probably going to be doing some one-on-one challenges. I've taken some people through it one-on-one, and in a 5-day period that I take people through that, holy moly, I had an agent go through it the other day, and he was like, I just opened his eyes and instantly in his business. And he was probably about a $15 million producer. And awesome. Within 5 days, we laid out how he's going to get to 30 million. And I'm like, dude, let's go, Yeah. And so that's what the challenge is all about. It's come join the community. It's a supportive environment where people have conversations about getting to at least that 10 million or more. And, it takes about 5 days. So it doesn't take a whole lot of time.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. I'm sure a lot of readers will get a lot of value out of that. Readers, listeners, stuff like that. So as we kind of wrap up, Nathan, I have to ask you, what's your biggest struggle right now, and how can me, John Rampton, and other listeners help you?
Good question. I think biggest thing is get the word out. I think marketing and content and everything else, more and more people are getting comfortable with that. And again, our attention is spread very, very thin. And so I think it's continuing to spread the message so that I can spread the impact. And you're doing that with this episode, and I greatly appreciate that. And of course, anybody that's out there that knows a real estate agent that may be struggling, send them to the school, like to the school. It's called the Real Estate Agent School. And, you can go on there, hop into the community. However I can help, however anybody in the community can help, that's what we're there for. And so as we continue to just spread positivity, again, if you have somebody that's challenged, struggling, maybe they're going backwards in their business and they're not ready to throw in the towel, just make a connection. That's the best way. Yep.
I love it. And the best way to connect with you is where?
Man, LinkedIn is that's my go-to social platform. You can go to
He's the only Nathan Daniel out there. So
yes,
it's easy to find.
Yeah, exactly. Realestateagentschool.pro. And it's school with SKOOL. So it's a school community. Cool. You can go there, connect with me on there in that platform. I'd love to hop on a call or conversation with anybody and see how I can help.
Love you. Thank you so much for your time, everybody.
Yeah. Thanks.
Rock on.